If you head to Luzon Island in the Philippines, you'll find Callao Cave hidden in the jungle. What's so special about an old cave, you may ask? Well, this is exactly where archaeologists discovered a previously unknown ancient species related to us humans. No, it's not the kid down the street. This one is almost human. Just kidding. The story began in 2003. It started much earlier, as in 50 to 67,000 years ago, but we won't go down memory lane that far. So 2003 it is. The Philippines haven't ever really been a hotspot for archaeological research for reasons I'll get into here in a bit. However, in recent years, it's become the third island in Southeast Asia to provide all kinds of astonishing evidence of ancient human activity. And to tell you the truth, and of course that's what we do here, scientists didn't see it coming at all. You see, the history of Asia, although incomplete, had always seemed clear and straightforward to experts. Paleoanthropologists, that's a $5 word, were sure that different animal species, Homo erectus for instance, arrived in modern-day Indonesia over land bridges that had still been intact about 1 million years ago. As for the area located further to the east, scientists have always believed that, due to powerful ocean currents, it had been completely impassable without boats, and therefore uninhabitable. Luzon Island was one of those seemingly inaccessible places, because it also didn't have any land bridge connecting it to the mainland. That's why researchers always thought that any archaeological excavations on the island would be fruitless. Even so, in 2003, Dr. Armin Mijares, a local archaeologist from the University of the Philippines, started excavations in Callao Cave together with his team. But at that time, researchers were still unaware of the treasures the cave kept within its limestone walls. As they were going about their research, the team found evidence of human activity in that region, including some tools and pottery which were dated to be about 25,000 years old. But this discovery wasn't all that earth-shattering, so the scientists left the site. Mind you, the deepest they dug was about 5 feet down. But this is the norm for most archaeologists working in Southeast Asia. They rarely dig deeper than 6 feet. After that, they stop excavations because the search becomes useless. The Callao Cave site would have stayed forgotten and deserted for decades if it wasn't for an exciting discovery the following year in 2004. That's when another group of archaeologists discovered Homo floresiensis, a tiny human species that was later nicknamed the Hobbit. And it's no wonder. These early human-like beings were only as tall as a modern 3-year-old child, and lived on a remote Indonesian island along with giant lizards and pygmy elephants. They disappeared from their home island of Flores about 50,000 years ago, but scientists got enough evidence to draw a clear picture of this species. Even though it was a cool discovery on its own, it also inspired Dr. Mijares to return to Callao Cave. He got back on track in 2007 with a firm decision to dig deeper. When the team had been excavating the cave back in 2003, they went through 5 feet of clay and found nothing even relatively significant before they decided to give up. They came across neither fossils nor any signs of ancient human activity. But their efforts in 2007 paid off. First of all, the archaeologists found a layer of rock formed from a mixture of different materials. And you can imagine how thrilled the scientists were when they discovered that this layer was full of bone fragments. Apparently, these bones were washed inside the cave a long time ago, but at the moment of discovery, the archaeologists couldn't even imagine how long ago it happened. When the scientists first started examining the bones, they turned out to be one big disappointment. It seemed that among the fossils, there were only bones belonging to animals like pigs and deer. But the team didn't lose hope and sent their findings to archaeologist Dr. Philip Piper, asking to look through the remains. And voila! I imagine one minute Dr. Piper was examining the fossils, and the next, he was calling Dr. Mijares with some great news. It would have been awesome to see the look on Mijares' face when his colleague informed him that he had found an almost complete foot bone that resembled that of a human a bit too much to be a coincidence. But it wasn't until 2010 that Mijares and his team finally made their revolutionary discovery. In their search, the scientists stumbled across a 67,000-year-old human fossil. At first, they believed the bone belonged to a miniature representative of Homo sapiens. In this case, it could have been the oldest piece of evidence showing the presence of our own species in the Philippines that long ago. But later, it turned out that the archaeologists' initial assumption was far from the truth. It was Mijares who first suspected that their finding might belong to a structurally new species. But to prove his theory, the team needed a whole bunch of new fossils, so they got down to work and did some more digging. It probably comes as no surprise that after going the extra mile, the researchers hit pay dirt. Can you dig it? During the following excavations in 2011 and 2015, they unveiled not only 2 more toe bones, but also 2 finger bones, 7 teeth, and part of a thigh bone. The scientists concluded that these remains most likely belonged to 3 individuals, 2 adults and a child. However happy they were about the discovery, it was also extremely confusing. The fossils revealed a bewildering mix of both advanced and ancient characteristics. For example, the teeth were tiny with a simple shape, making them similar to the teeth of modern humans. But what makes them even more unique is that one of the upper premolars found had 3 roots, a feature found in less than 3% of people today. At the same time, the discovered foot bone looked like one of the ancient Australopithecines who were wandering around Africa about 3 million years ago. But let's try to draw an image of this human-like species, which was dubbed Homo luzonensis, in honor of the island it was discovered on. The itsy-bitsy teeth meant that adults were probably quite short, about 4 feet tall. Besides, the toe bone discovered by the archaeologists was slightly curved. That's why the scientists assumed that this species led a mixed lifestyle, what with their ability to both climb trees and walk on 2 legs. They could have walked in a peculiar way, but researchers haven't determined that yet. In any case, scientists from all over the world praise the thoroughness of the research done by Dr. Mijares and his team. Everybody in the archaeological community understood just how incredibly hard it is to define a new species from only 13 tiny bones and teeth. There have been attempts to extract DNA from the discovered remains, but so far they haven't gotten any results. Unfortunately, this is typical for samples stewing for tens of thousands of years in the humidity and heat of rainforests. But the finding seems to raise more questions than it answers. For example, did Homo luzonensis learn to both climb trees and walk when they got isolated on the island, or was it their inherent trait? And how and when did they end up on that island anyways? Remember, it's never had any land bridge connection to the mainland. The researchers do have 2 theories about how the first humans got to Luzon. One of them claims that they set out on a voyage on purpose and sailed on some kind of a raft. According to the other theory, Homo luzonensis was brought to the island by a natural disaster, such as a tsunami. And while most scientists support the natural disaster theory, more and more evidence is coming to light, hinting that the event might not have been that accidental. There is one more thing, though, that makes scientists super excited about the discovery. It seems humans that lived on Luzon Island used tools to hunt and prepare food. The researchers came to this conclusion after they found a deer bone in the cave that had some marks on it, as if someone had used a stone tool to cut it. But that's not all. In 2018, Dr. Mijares announced that chances are Homo luzonensis lived on the island much further back in time. The archaeologists found some stone tools, as well as a rhinoceros skeleton bearing similar markings to that deer, not so far from Callao Cave. And, brace yourself, these findings are a whopping 700,000 years old. Unfortunately, now it's almost impossible to say for sure whether these tools were used by Homo luzonensis or some other older unrelated species. So, we just must wait for scientists to do further research and let us all in on what our ancient cousins were up to in their day. So, have you heard about any other exciting archaeological findings? Let me know down in the comments. If you learned something new today, then give this video a like and share it with a friend. But hey, we're not done excavating just yet. We have over 2,000 cool videos for you to check out. All you have to do is pick the left or right video, click on it, and enjoy. Stay on the bright side of life.